Hello, college football fans, and welcome to this week's special edition of Extra Points, a collaboration between Delphi Bracketology and Student Union Sports. This week, we are going to be bringing you an exciting look at the bowl week. What is this bowl week to you?
Well, this is a great week for college football fans because there are seemingly a bowl game every night, culminating with the playoff games New Year's Day. Also, as a Purdue fan, I actually get to look forward to Purdue playing in a bowl game this year, something I haven't gotten to do for the last 5 years. Now let's hear about some of the bowl matchups. For our first two games, we send it to Jaden and Jamison.
Oklahoma State is 9-3 and third in the Big East. This Cowboys offense is led by Mason Rudolph, who has 4,553 yards in the season, with a 55% completion rate and 10 yards per average on play. He has thrown 35 touchdowns and 9 interceptions on the season. His defense is led by DeQuinton Osborne, who leads the team in sacks and tackles for loss. Now to Virginia Tech. The offensive leader is Josh Jackson, who has 2,743 yards on the season with a 60% completion rate and 8 yards per play. Josh also has 19 touchdowns and 8 interceptions. This defense is led by Tremaine Edmonds, who leads the defense in total tackles and sacks. I think the Oklahoma State will run over the Hokies with their high-powered offense. We'll wait and see.
All eyes will be on Heisman contender Bryce Love on December 28th at the Alamo Dome as number 13 Stanford will face off against number 15 TCU in the Valero Alamo Bowl. Stanford comes into the game averaging 32 points per game. Senior defensive tackle Harrison Phillips, who has posted 100 tackles, 75 of them being sacks, will lead the defense for the Cardinals. Stanford won 8 of their last 9 regular season games with upsets over Notre Dame and Washington. TCU leads the nation in red zone defense and has been able to hold opponents to an average of less than 20 points per game. The Horned Frogs rank second in the nation in rushing defense. The TCU offense posted a slightly higher average, 34.5 points per game, than the Cardinals. The Alamo Bowl will be just the third meeting between these two teams, with TCU leading the series 2-0. Stanford holds a slight edge in ranking going into the game, but it should be a good one. Back to you guys in the studio.
Looking like it's going to be a great showdown. Both games have potential to be great games. Personally, I feel that OSU and TCU are going to pull out the W with a nice lead. What are you thinking?
I think playing in San Antonio will give TCU a little bit of a home crowd advantage and will be enough for the Horned Frogs to win. I also like Mason Rudolph and the Cowboys. Now for some more on the Orange Bowl and Outback Bowl, we send it to Elijah and Colt.
In the Orange Bowl game, we have Wisconsin and Miami. Both of these excellent teams had their dreams of making it into the college playoffs dashed after both teams lost last week. In the 4 times these two schools have played against each other, each team has 2 wins. Wisconsin and Miami both had dismal efforts on the offensive ends when they have lost. Wisconsin's defense is arguably the best in the nation. The Badgers quarterback, Alex Hornibrook, has hit 61% of his passes for over 2,000 yards on the year. Meanwhile, Miami's plethora of good cornerbacks will look to shut down Wisconsin's passing attack. Wisconsin will look to win 13 games in a season for the first time in their school's history. Miami has the home field advantage because the Orange Bowl is played at their stadium every year. This game should be a good one, guys.
Thanks, guys. This year's Outback Bowl includes 2 teams who have underperformed all year. Michigan versus South Carolina. It's a game for Michigan that could decide the fate of Michigan's head coach, Jim Harbaugh. As losses piled up for the struggling Wolverines late in the year, they ultimately became unranked. Jim Harbaugh has been called out by his former wide receiver, Amani Toomer, and told he's stuck in mediocre as they are 1-5 versus rivals Ohio State and Michigan State. In the past 2 years, QB play has been below average by John O'Korn with a 2-6 touchdown to interception ratio on the year. The running game, on the other hand, had been outstanding with 3 rushers on the year with over 500 yards. Karen Hidgen has 11 touchdowns on nearly 1,000 yards. This has the potential to be a huge game for South Carolina. If they could pull off this upset, it could make their whole season worthwhile. Their QB has been outstanding, throwing 16 touchdowns on over 2,500 yards. He will be looking to come out and light the scoreboard up. He would like to hit Brian Edwards to add to the impressive 700 yards on the year. If their defense can step up and shut down the strong run game of the Wolverines, they can come out of the Outback Bowl with a win. Back to the panel with Evan and Gold.
Thanks, guys. It's going to be interesting to see who comes out on top of those games. Both teams were playoff contenders and are looking for a big win to cap off their successful season.
The Orange Bowl will be decided by who can be motivated more to show up for this game after disappointing endings to their seasons for both Miami and Wisconsin. Now, we send it to Jordan and Evan for more on the Peach Bowl and Citrus Bowl.
The Peach Bowl, a bowl everyone likes, is going to be a great game, with the matchup being Auburn versus UCF. Can UCF prove they can play with the top SEC team and a team that could have been in the playoffs? Let's take a look at Auburn. First, they are a great team who is eager for a win after a loss the last game. Can Auburn get back to their run game and pass game and come out on fire and get up big versus UCF? With quarterback Jarrett Stidham has been great this year, with 2,827 total passing yards, and running back Caron Johnson has 1,322 rush yards in this season. So can them two get going in this one? Now for the defensive side. Auburn has had a great defensive rush to apply pressure on the quarterback. So can they get big stops and convert on those offensive side? Now let's look at the UCF side. UCF is always a good team that is either really good or really bad. But this year is a good year, standing undefeated when 2 or 3 years ago they were 0-12. What a change. They are a team that is hungry to prove that they can handle the big teams in SEC and able to compete and win. Will they show Auburn how to play football or lay an egg in this game? Now let's look at the offensive side for the Knights. Quarterback Mackenzie Milton has been good all year with 3,725 yards, total passing yards, which is really good for a sophomore. Can the Knights get their passing offense going and make big plays through the stretch and get a couple of stops and be able to still be in the ball game? Maybe pull off a win. Now for the defensive side. They are a great pass coverage team and love to bring pressures, so I'm looking forward to this game, and I'm rooting for the Knights in this one. I don't think Auburn will come back strong after their loss to Georgia. Back to you guys.
Hello, and thanks for joining me for this bowl week. And for this week, I'm going to be taking a look at the Citrus Bowl. And it isn't as fruity as it sounds. Both teams are looking for a win to seal the books on their presentable seasons. First, we look at Notre Dame, who has been tough all season. The big part of their team is their defense. They have forced 20 turnovers this season, averaging well over 1 per game. On the other side of the ball, John Adams is looking for the ball with his nice average of 7 yards a carry. Josh will be trying to rush against the LSU D that has allowed an average of 18 points per game. With that, we are going to focus on what goes on the offense, with Danny Etling, who has thrown for 2,200 yards on the season and is looking to have a big game and put the Fighting Irish in their place. That's all for us. Now back to you.
Thanks, guys. Central Florida finally gets its chance to prove it belongs with the big boys, so that'll be an interesting matchup. The Citrus Bowl looked out with a matchup of 2 historic programs looking for a win and momentum into the offseason. Now, for more information on the bowl I'm most interested in, the Foster Farms Bowl, and also information on the Tax Slayer Bowl, we send it to Michael Benner and Joe Lammers.
So this week we're going to the Foster Farms Bowl, where Purdue and Arizona will play. This will be Jeff Brom's first bowl game in his first season as head coach at Purdue. For Purdue to win this game, they need to stop the passing game led by Khalil Tate. For their have their defense stop Khalil Tate in the passing game. For Arizona to win this game, they need to focus mainly on the passing game since Purdue has no running game. Back to you guys.
Hey, this is Joe Lammers bringing you the Tax Slayer Bowl. The last time these two teams met was in 1976. Mississippi won that game 30-21. Now, that was a long time ago, and the teams have changed a little bit. Louisville comes into the Tax Slayer Bowl with their momentum on their side. They ended the regular season on a 3-game winning streak. The biggest problem for Mississippi State is the quarterback position. Nick Fitzgerald dislocated his ankle in the Egg Bowl and will not play. They're probably going to start freshman Keaton Thompson, so they'll probably have to trust their junior running back Aris Williams. He is leading the team with 1,019 rushing yards and also caught 16 passes for 142 yards. I'm not sure if that will be enough for Mississippi State, because Louisville is playing with their starting quarterback and former Heisman Trophy winner Lamar Jackson. Jackson is putting up pretty good numbers, but they weren't good enough to win college football's most prestigious trophy again. He ran for 1,443 yards and 17 touchdowns and threw for 3,489 yards and 25 TDs. At the end, the Louisville Cardinals are going to win this year's Colleg Bowl. Back to you.
Thanks, guys. Khalil Tate is a special player for Arizona, and it'll be interesting to see if Purdue defensive coordinator Nick Holt can continue to work his magic and slow him down.
Yeah, I just don't see Purdue putting up a huge fight. Tate is going to hit them hard with a ground and pound and try to wear that D down. Now we send it to Mr. Tonsoni, who is covering the Fiesta Bowl and the Holiday Bowl.
Okay, we're here to talk about the Holiday Bowl. We'll be on Fox Sports 1, Michigan State versus Washington State. And Michigan State's coach Mark D'Antonio is looking for his 100th win as head coach of the Spartans, while Washington State coach Mike Leach is a walking billboard of quotes on a plethora of topics. Ask him anything, you'll get a quote to remember. These two teams meet in this year's Holiday Bowl. Washington State has an electric offense led by quarterback Luke Falk. Michigan State will counter with a solid defensive line and safety David Duval. Containing the Washington State run is a huge factor in Michigan State maybe getting this win, because then they can put pressure on quarterback Falk. Michigan State will need a solid game from quarterback Brian Lewerke to orchestrate enough points to win this game. And that is it for the Holiday Bowl. The Fiesta Bowl, which will be carried on ESPN, features a Big Ten team and a Pac-12 team, just like the previous game. This game is between Penn State and Washington. The two teams' head championship aspirations find themselves meeting in the Fiesta Bowl. Number 9 Penn State will play number 11 Washington in a battle of two solid quarterbacks. Penn State with Trace McSorley and Washington's Jake Browning. Both of those will be going head-to-head. You add Penn State running back Saquon Barkley to the mix, and the Washington defense will have its hands cut out, or its work cut out for them. They do have a great defensive tackle by the name of Vita V, who will be looking to contain the running game, and Saquon Barkley. The key matchup may be between the Washington offensive line and the Penn State defensive line. The Huskies' rushing attack has been solid all year, and it's accounted for over 2,200 yards on the ground this season. This looks like a high-scoring affair, and if you ask me, if Penn State can find some motivation, I think they come out on top and will prevail in this game. In the previous game, I'll take Washington State and the great commenting coach, Mike Leach, over the Spartans. Thanks. Back to you guys.
Thanks, Brian. Those should be good matchups, and I like the Big Ten teams winning both of those games.
Yeah, I can't disagree there. Both games are going to be won by the Big Ten teams who are looking to show off their authority. And with that, we send it off to Joe Perry, who is covering the playoff games.
Hi, this is Joe Perry. I'm bringing you college football playoffs. Oklahoma and Georgia will play in the first playoff game in the infamous Rose Bowl. Heisman winner Baker Mayfield will lead the powerful Oklahoma offense against Georgia's extraordinary defense, which only allowed 7 points against Auburn in the SEC championship. Georgia's offense should be successful too, seeing how Oklahoma allowed 41 points to Baylor. However, I think that Georgia's defense will cave to Mayfield and the Sooners, who have over 4,000 passing yards this season. I expect the Sooners to win by about 10 points in this shootout. In the next playoff game, we have Clemson and Alabama. They play in the Sugar Bowl. Now for Alabama, we'll look to sophomore quarterback Jalen Hurts and wide receiver Calvin Ridley, who has over 40% of Hurts' completions. As for number 1 Clemson, quarterback Kelly Bryant will try to get his team through the championship in hopes of a second consecutive championship. If you ask me, I think that the big Clemson defense will stop Hurts in the rolling tide, just like they did in Miami in the ACC championship, boosting Clemson into the national championship game. Back to you guys.
Thanks, Joe. Let's hope both of these games are good games and we don't get any blowouts like we've had in the past. I look for Alabama and Oklahoma to win and face off for the championship, with Alabama winning. What do you think, Evan?
I would have to agree, but not so fast, Sarah, about the Alabama game. I think I'm going to have to go with Clemson coming out on top with a solid lead, but I think that they will be both good games to tune into.
That does it for this edition of Extra Points and our 2017 season of Extra Points as well. Once again, we are Delphi Bracketology in collaboration with Student Union Sports, and we thank you for watching. All of us at Delphi Bracketology would like to wish you a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year's. Enjoy some bowl games, and be sure to tune in for our future bracketology updates.